Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. The Flash released a new promo, there's a whole bunch of new footage, so we'll break it all down. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. James Gunn will be announcing what all the new DC movies are going to be in his DC Phase 1 reboot of all the movies, with different actors playing all the characters really soon. We won't have to wait that long to find out what the first batch of his movies are going to be. One of the few ones that he has already announced is the new version of the Superman movie that he's creating with the younger Superman. Of course, I will do videos for all that stuff, whatever he winds up announcing. It's only the biggest thing that's happened in comic book movies since they recast Andrew Garfield as the Amazing Spider-Man, getting rid of Tobey Maguire temporarily, and then a few years later recast again with Tom Holland, only to bring Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back in Spider-Man No Way Home. So all this nonsense going on at DC movies should feel very familiar. All the OG Spider-Man fans just posting memes saying, is this your first time? See John Wesley Shipp as a version of Barry Allen Flash from his show. They actually featured him on the DC TV version of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Hopefully he has a cameo somewhere in the movie. In the background, you see the main Justice League Earth. The idea is there are scenes from all of the classic Earth, like he recreates the experiment that gave him powers to give the new Barry powers. See them tease a version of Flashpoint where Barry Allen time travels to the past to save his mother from the Reverse Flash, just like Flashpoint in the comics, except in doing so completely changes the timeline, causing butterfly effects, destroying his future, effectively his present day. They did a version of it during the Flash Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. That's where all the older Grant Gustin Flash memes came from. Sure is a nice timeline. Be a real shame if someone messed it up. If they hadn't put two versions of Batman and Supergirl in this movie, that would have been a solid movie poster for this. The newer Grant Gustin Flash memes over Oliver Queen's grave are the ones that everyone's going to remember though, because they're more recent and they've transcended DC. Like this meme will survive the heat death of the universe. To Michael Keaton Batman's Earth, and when he does that, he finds another version of himself, like another Barry Allen, who looks just a little bit different. Like you can tell that his haircut is a little bit different, the outfit that he wears is a little bit different. He's wearing this yellow jacket. You see him in the trailer looking at the Batmobile too. Been through the same adventures that the main Barry Allen has. He doesn't have the same Flash suits, he hasn't experienced the events of Justice League, he doesn't know the same group of characters that our main Barry Allen knew. But it does seem like he also lost his mother as a boy, so they do share the same tragedy of their childhood. While main Barry Allen is trying to figure out what he did wrong to change the timeline with the help of Michael Keaton's Batman, who seems really annoyed by him, like, look, you can do anything, you changed the past, and in doing so, needs a Flash suit, obviously, but Barry Allen is a forensic scientist. He's supposed to be very smart, but he works at Central City Police Department. He's not like the level of engineer that he'd have to be in order to create a duplicate of his own new upgraded Flash suit and Flash ring. You probably saw that Ben Affleck's Batman was supposed to be in the movie. He's the one who gives the main Barry Allen the Flash ring and the new Flash suit. They did it in a tie-in comic that they released before the movie came out. I believe you can actually go read it right now. He keeps the new Flash suit inside the Flash ring. It's meant to be just like the comics. And speaking of reboots, characters not coming back, originally I think had Ray Fisher not had all the problems that he did with the studio, they would have said that Cyborg used his Mother Box hyper technology to create the Flash ring and the new suit with Batman's help. Originally, he was a much bigger part of the plot. There'd been all kinds of talks about him being a pretty big character in the movie, but then he had all those problems, so they rewrote the movie and he wasn't in it anymore. When main Barry Allen is teaching this other Barry Allen about the Speed Force, about being the Flash, they create a second-hand suit using other parts that they can find because they're in Michael Keaton Batman's Batcave. The other parts are essentially one of his spare Batman suits. So this other Flash is wearing a repainted Batman suit. You can see the chest plate lines here. And that's why the neck piece on his suit looks so weird. It's super thick like Batman's cowl because it is literally Batman's cowl with the ears cut off in the shiny coat of red paint. Here's the thing with the villains that why wouldn't you just make Reverse Flash the main villain of the movie? They do have a version of Michael Shannon Zod and Feora coming back as multiverse versions of their characters who didn't die at the hands of Henry Cavill Superman. That's what the main Barry Allen Flash is looking at here. He finds her in this prison and recognizes who she is, learning her relationship to his Superman from his Earth. I'm not sure what they're going to say happened to him in this alternate universe. Either his pod never crashed on this Earth, or it hasn't reached it yet, or he was killed at some point. Henry Cavill did film a cameo scene as his main version of Superman. I'll explain that in a second. The other villain of the movie, and arguably I think the main villain of the movie, is actually Dark Flash, this other Barry Allen, who winds up being the main villain, instead of just casting a completely different actor or using Reverse Flash. He's meant to be a version of Barry Allen who didn't learn the same lesson that he learned of Flashpoint, why you're not supposed to change the past. He goes off the rails, took over in real life, and that's why he's done so many crazy things the past year, getting in trouble with the law. It's the evil Barry Allen who's taken over. But I think the idea is that by the end of the movie, the main conflict will be regular Barry Allen versus the Dark Flash. Obviously, they have changed a couple things about the movie because of James Gunn's big reboot of DC movies. Originally, they were going to use the movie to set up a bunch of future Crisis on Infinite Earth stuff in the movies. I believe that's what Henry Cavill's Superman cameo was going to do. He was supposed to show up towards the end of the movie inside the Speed Force, teasing some future crisis, like big multiverse conflict, and it would have been them doing a movie version of what you saw in the TV shows. They did a much bigger version of that on DC TV. I believe the movie version would have just been like an even more expensive, even bigger version with more versions of the characters from previous movies. Like, oh, this is how they're going to bring George Clooney's Batman and Robin back. All those classic Justice League actors just rubbing their hands like, oh, can't wait to come back. James Gunn's plans for the next 10 years of DC are meant to be completely different. He might also do a version of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it's meant to be a very different plan from what the studio had back in October, because that's why Henry Cavill said that the studio told him to tell everyone in the world that he was back as Superman in October after Black Adam came out. Because at the time, the studio wanted him to come back and do a version of Man of Steel 2 and be a big part of this future Crisis on Infinite Earths. But then just a little while later, by November, James Gunn was hired and had completely different plans. It's like, you know what? No, we're not going to do Henry Cavill's Superman. We're going to do a younger version. We're going to recast all these actors and do completely different versions. So in service of the big reboot, they probably did the same thing with Aquaman 2, which is still supposed to come out at the end of 2023. Ben Affleck's Batman also filmed a cameo scene for that. I don't know if that got taken out as well. They haven't said anything about Grant Gustin having a cameo scene in the movie, but it would be weird for him to not have a cameo scene in the film. They filmed it last year, so I think there would have been time for him to film some sort of walk-on cameo, even if it was a brief moment. The Flash Season 9 is meant to be the last season of the show, so it feels like they would try to wrap all those hanging plot threads up. But the whole idea during the DC TV version of Crisis on Infinite Earths is that they canonize the Arrowverse to the larger movie. The big joke of Ezra Miller's cameo scene here was that his Flash didn't know that he was called the Flash yet, because in the movies up to that point, they hadn't called him the Flash yet. They just kept calling him Barry.
Flash? The Flash? The Flash? It's complicated.
So when they meet and Grant Gustin says, "I'm the Flash," Ezra Miller kind of ponders it for a moment like, the Flash, wow, that actually sounds like a pretty cool name, just because he's hearing it for the first time. When he disappears at the end, obviously it's because of what's happening with the DC TV version of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but I'm wondering if they actually end the movie now with a way that'll actually explain that in a new context. Like, oh, it's because of this big reboot that's happening, and it's because of what Ezra Miller's Barry Allen does during the Flash movie. Like, just blame all of the Flashes on what's happening with the reboot. Just blame it on their version of new Flashpoint. Then maybe if they do some multiverse stuff way down the road, like 5-10 years plus, they'll bring some of those other actors back and do more of a legit version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. But let me know in the comments, if they are rebooting all of DC movies, let me know in the comments how you want them to wrap up each of the movies that are happening this year if they're still part of the Snyderverse of DC movies and everybody's not coming back after that. It just feels like if they leave a little bit of an explainer at the end of the Flash movie with Flashpoint and just say that this is happening in an alternate universe, it makes way more sense when the new versions of the actors show up. Like, oh, this is just another universe that we're looking at. The other big news is that they are going to release another Flash trailer at the Super Bowl. There'll probably be a couple other really big trailers. Of course, they'll do videos for all that stuff, whatever they wind up releasing. Make sure you enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. There'll be some more Shazam Fury of the Gods trailers really soon too, because that'll be like the first big DC movie of the year. We also have a brand new Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer that's coming next week. Of course, I'll do a video for that as well. Everyone click here for that, and click here to learn about Ben Affleck coming back to play a new Marvel character in Marvel Phase 5. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.